Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Majewska, New Mobility Manager at Polish Alternative Fuels Association. It is my honor to welcome you today at our webinar titled Europe Run on Polish Lithium-Ion Batteries, the Potential of the Battery Sector in Poland and CEE Region. On July 25th this year, Mr. John Goodenough, one of the founding fathers of lithium-ion battery and 2019 Chemistry Nobel laureate, celebrated his 100th birthday. With his modesty, kindness, and generosity, along with scientific curiosity, he remains a role model for all of us. We wish him well with good health for many more years to come. Let me introduce you. Today, we will have a pleasure to listen to Mr. Aleksander Rajch, Director for External Affairs and Board Member at Polish Alternative Fuels Association, who will share the knowledge about the potential of the battery sector in Poland and the CEE region in an opening presentation, and afterwards he will moderate a discussion with our great panelists.
We will speak about the potential of the Central Eastern European region today in terms of lithium-ion batteries, and we will speak about it because the manufacturing potential is immense, but the challenges actually equal that potential in its scale and size. In terms of the battery sector, there are many aspects of this discussion. Some of them pertain to other aspects of mobility, of alternative fuels, of rare metals, and new resources. Now, we talk about it as PSPA because we are the largest organization in the region to drive this market. And we have over 200 members as of this moment. We are functioning since 2016. We have over 70 institutional partnerships. We have trained over 2,500 local government officials. Over 20,000 stakeholders have taken part in our events and various workshops and conferences that we've organized. And we are working with the public administration on amending and making the law better for business to thrive in. And we've recommended over 1,500 such recommended amendments over the past 7 years. Now, since our scale has grown so large and exponentially, we've launched 12 content committees for our members to focus on their priorities and issues that are most important to them, and one steering committee which functions as PSPA, which can bring all those recommendations, messages, and arguments to the market to shape it. So PSPA has grown very largely, and we have a very wide portfolio of members, but the market is still at a nascent phase. We have less than 50,000 electric vehicles, 23.5 basically out of that number are battery electric vehicles, a little over 2,200 charging stations on the market, but the growth we see will be exponential. We see that in 2025 we should have around 300,000 electric vehicles. Correspondingly to that, nearly 42,000 charging points. So these numbers will grow, and we have to work very hard on fostering that growth, but it is all based on the entire value chain that shapes electromobility, and that is reflected in the membership portfolio of PSPA, from OEMs through charging manufacturers and infrastructure manufacturers and CPOs, oil and gas companies, energy companies, financial institutions, and above all, the basis of all this growth, so the lithium-ion battery sector, and PSPA represents most of that sector right now in Poland. And we base our activities on 4 main centers, or pillars as we call them, and these pillars are focusing on training and advisory, that is the Competence Center, monitoring law and shaping better law, which is the Legislation Center, gathering data, collecting statistics and data, and publishing it to the market as various publications and reports. And lastly, organizing events to bring the market together and discuss all of those very important issues that pertain to the market. But today we are here to talk about the lithium-ion battery sector, which will grow more than 10 times in the next 8 years, and then again twice in the 5 years after that, to enormous levels and incredible scale. We know that it will grow by amounts and values by over 1/4 of its present value, up to nearly $70 billion globally. But we also see that in Europe it's a very important economic argument as well. Over 1 billion euros are available as part of the Europe Horizon program for companies to shape the battery technologies of the future. Those are some of the issues we will discuss today during the webinar as well. But we see that the battery sector is actually a cycle. It is a cycle from raw resources and the resources that we need to develop battery technologies, to develop battery systems, battery packs, all the way through manufacturing and then recycling, or perhaps second life, which seems to be a controversial issue for the moment. We see that this cycle actually includes various levels of cooperation that we as PSPA and other corresponding organizations have to delve into to effectively develop it. And that includes regulatory issues, it includes business issues, it includes social issues, and bringing all those issues and topics together to address the main challenges, some of which will also be discussed today. Excuse me. The lithium-ion battery sector is the basis for most zero-emission technologies, from individual transportation through heavy transportation through public transportation, and we see that for the years to come, this will be the case. Every year, battery capacities increase by 5 to 6%, which increases range, increases capacity, and increases the potential to include them in even the heaviest transport sectors, and perhaps in the future maritime and airway transportation as well. What's important for Poland as well is supporting PV installations and the possibility to develop a prosumer economy also on the basis of lithium-ion energy storage. Poland, as I said, is a leader. It is the #1 producer in Europe, and it is amongst the top 5 globally. This will probably remain the status of things for the next 2.5 years for sure, and we will remain a global leader for the decades to come, most probably. That is because we have developed a manufacturing supply chain cycle that allows various levels to thrive, from manufacturing of lithium-ion battery cells through modules. We have OEMs investing in that technology as well. We have recycling companies that also develop these technologies and actually make Poland a very serious leader in terms of recycling and working with the raw materials after the batteries are applied. The battery sector, in all, consists nearly 3% of the Polish annual export value. But it is not only Poland and the CEE region, it is not only the global perspective. The European Union is working on the European Battery Regulation, a very important regulation which has passed the Council of the European Union in March of this year and has entered the trilogue phase, which basically means that there is a big chance that the battery regulation will be implemented before the end of the year. That means vertical implementation for national regulatory frameworks. Now, the EU battery regulation causes a lot of controversy. It places a lot of regulations and provisions that stipulate an electronic way of following the battery life, from the resources that are brought into the European Union, into the manufacturing, from the rare metals used, from every single component that is being used during the production process of the battery, all the way through the end of the battery, and monitoring its state constantly. Also introducing a new body that will monitor the state within the EU and on the national level as well. Now, first thing, of course, is that since this regulation is approaching so rapidly, both the business and the NGOs around this market have a lot of arguments against some of the stipulations of this regulation. These include definitions, for example. It is not always so clear whether we're talking about batteries or battery packs or modules in terms of sensors, for example. The actual passport, the EU passport, and the electronic following of batteries is also not so clear. And it actually raises a lot of controversies regarding basically the body that is responsible for doing this in each EU state. In Poland, the Ministry of Development and Technology is responsible for the implementation of the European Battery Regulation, but whether that ministry is also responsible for launching a dedicated body to monitor batteries, we still don't know. And the regulation does not define this. Second life regulations also pose a lot of problems because in Poland, they may mean the complete transformation of the waste management economy, because a used battery is a waste product per Polish law, which cannot be reapplied. So it actually causes a lot of problems because the rare metals used in batteries and the cells can be reused for future products as well. Could be, but cannot be per the Polish law right now. So there are a lot of controversies that this regulation raises, and the market still has some questions, despite the fact that this will become functioning ruling law very soon. Now, the cause of this webinar and the cause of this discussion is actually an initiative of the PSPA, of the Polish Alternative Fuels Association, to develop and implement a report together with partners from the CEE, from the business, from the market. And this report is supposed to show that despite being a manufacturing power, the CEE, the Central Eastern European region, such as Poland, such as Hungary, such as Slovakia, such as Czechia, and various other markets, there are still challenges to be addressed. And these challenges are mostly based on the fact that there's very little innovation, very little research and technology and development within this region. And this is something we have to drive. This is one problem. The second problem are, of course, the human resources that are available to drive this market further. Now, the CEE has potential, but we need to learn how to use this potential to foster a very sustainable future within the lithium-ion battery sector, such as is the case in Northern America, Asian markets, or Middle Eastern markets. We want to really make this a technology hub for batteries. And this report we're trying to develop analyzes the genesis of some of these challenges, the state of these challenges, and the outlook in the 2030 perspective. We want to learn from the market representatives and experts in order to make this study the best as it can be. Today is one of the steps in this learning process. Of course, we will pick these topics again, and we will do this at the largest event in the Central Eastern European region, the New Mobility Congress, which will take place on the 12th, 13th, and 14th of September. And in the middle of that Congress, on the 13th of September, we will hold Polish Battery Day 2.0. That's the second edition of one of the key events, bringing together the market, the lithium-ion battery producer market, the manufacturer market, everyone involved in this process and the entire value chain in order to discuss these issues and to shape the recommendations to quickly address them. Now, that being said, the speakers today will provide us with real-time knowledge regarding these issues. They will provide us with the knowledge on both their local, regional, and global levels. And we will also hear from a global leader, Northvolt, how they see the heartbeat of the lithium-ion battery sector beating in Central Eastern Europe. So that being said, thank you very much for your attention, and I pass the floor back to Maria.
Thank you, Aleksander, for this really interesting presentation and giving to all of us the overview about the battery sector in this part of the world. Let's move right now to the second phase of this webinar. Let me introduce you Mr. Robert Chryc-Gawrychowski, the CEO at Northvolt Poland. He will present us a keynote speech titled Heartbeat of Europe's Lithium-Ion Battery Ecosystem.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Aleksander. Hi, welcome everybody. My name is Robert Chryc-Gawrychowski, and I am CEO of Northvolt Poland. I would like to thank Polish Alternative Fuels Association for the invitation to this webinar and giving me the opportunity to share with you my reflections about battery value chain in Europe, and especially in Poland, of course. But first, let me give you an overview of the global lithium-ion batteries demand for all segments. I mean, electric vehicles, energy storage systems, as well as industrial and portable applications. In 2016, the global demand was only 70 gigawatt hours, but in 2030, it will be more than 3,000 gigawatt hours. So it means more than 45 times more over the period of 14 years. It is huge demand and is very challenging to supply, especially in Europe, where until 2016, we had limited value chain and supply capability, especially zero supply of lithium-ion batteries produced in a sustainable way. But meantime, surprisingly, Poland became one of the biggest exporters of electrical batteries in the world. In 2010, Polish exports accounted for less than 2% of the global market of electric batteries. 10 years later, in 2020, the share was as high as 8%. But it's also worth to highlight that the global production has also increased significantly in the absolute criteria. Moreover, most of this volume I'm talking about today is lithium-ion batteries. In 2021, their export value amounted to 6.5 billion euro, which accounts for over 2% of the exports of the entire Polish economy. Except the batteries production itself, Poland hosts also manufacturers of the lithium battery industry other components, such as electrode metal foils, separators, electrolyte, active materials, as well as recycling sites, which Aleksander presented during his presentation. Today, there is more than 60 companies in this industry in Poland, and all those sites need a lot of energy to power the manufacturing process. The problem is that Poland has a poor grid energy mix, although the situation has improved since 2010. In 2021, 30% of the installed power out of total 56 gigawatts was renewable and 59% was carbon-based. While in 2010, it was respectively 6% and 82% out of the total installed power of 36 gigawatts. It is important in the context of high energy consuming manufacturing processes. Why? Because Europe goes electric. Following the earlier commitments from Kyoto 1 and 2 in 1997 and 2007, through European Union new target framework from 2014, we came into so-called Paris Agreement, taken during COP21 in December 2015. And finally, European Green Deal in 2019, as well as Fit for 55 legislative package and Renewable Energy Directive, so-called RED II in 2021. This is a toolbox of keeping the global warming well below 2 Celsius degree above pre-industrial levels and reaching climate neutrality by 2050. One of the enablers of it is electrification of the transportation fleets and increasing of the renewables in energy mixes, which won't be possible without battery energy storage systems. It also requires an increase of the Europe share of global battery production, but with the lowest possible CO2 footprint. Why am I re-emphasizing the necessity of sustainable way of battery production? Well, it is obvious, as for any other industry, to support the climate goals and policies. But this is particularly important when it comes to lithium-ion batteries. Simply because the manufacturing process is highly energy consuming due to the upstream processes of metal, chemicals, and active materials preparation. And if the producer doesn't have his own upstream, which is unfortunately the case of the most European manufacturing sites, additional emissions and increased carbon footprint is created during the transportation. The location of Northvolt cells gigafactory in far north Sweden is a great exemplification of the complex holistic approach and new standard setting of assuming responsibility for our climate, what requires of going beyond regular operations. Over there in Heleftio, we have 100% of renewable energy to power our vertically integrated manufacturing processes. From raw materials to recycling, we are closing the loop in circular value chain approach. What else is needed? I would say a sense of urgency, of course, because we can't waste the time, but need to act now in favor of fighting against the climate changes. That's why we should be ambitious and pursue fundamental rather than incremental changes to support policymakers and act as enabler than the barrier for the new legislation. So the life cycle CO2 emissions from battery cell manufacturing matters. Let's take the annual lithium-ion battery demand in Europe, growing from 124 gigawatt hours in 2022 to 1,000 gigawatt hours in 2030, covering three main industries. Of course, automotive represents most of the total demand, energy storage, and aviation. With today's industry standard, the CO2 equivalent emission in 2030 would be 100 million tons, because for each 1 kilowatt hour of battery cell production, there is 100 kilograms CO2 generation. With Northvolt vertical integration and sustainable approach, it would be 10 million tons only, what means 90% less than today's industry standard. But we should pay attention not only for manufacturing processes. Northvolt way focuses also on ethical and sustainable raw material sourcing and recycling, thanks to commitment to sustainability through all activities, such as first, slashing the carbon footprint by reaching 10 kilograms CO2 per 1 kilowatt hours of battery cells production. Second, a holistic approach to environmental sustainability with detailed due diligence of local conditions across the value chain. And third, a limitation of fresh resource used by scaling up recycling to secure at least 50% of raw materials needed in 2030. So those are our commitment and goals, and we believe this is the best way to give the Europe sustainable and green batteries. So thank you for listening today, and let's stay in touch. Hand over to Aleksander.
Yes, thank you very much for this very important presentation. I'm really glad to hear that we are all taking care of the climate change that is happening on our eyes right now. But let's move further with exploring the topic of today's webinar, and let's move right now to the discussion that will be moderated by Aleksander.
Thank you, Maria. I have the pleasure today of talking to very esteemed guests, and I'll take the liberty to introduce them. We have with us Mr. Filip Gabrielewicz, the product manager at WAM Technik, Mr. Patryk Kryzański, CEO of SEVA, the Slovak EV Association, Mr. Adam Piotrowski, the business development manager at Durapower Technology Group, Mr. Michał Surma, Business Development Manager at BMZ Poland, and Mr. Filip van Gel, Secretary General of AVER, the European Association for Electromobility. Welcome. Thank you for being here today. We asked each of the speakers to prepare ahead of time a remark on the one single key challenge that comes to their mind regarding their respective market perspective, which could or should be addressed in order to drive the innovation, the potential of the CEE region. And I would like to start from a global perspective into a more regional perspective. And the most global company for today's, I think, discussion will be Durapower. So Adam, if I can ask you to name that key challenge and start us off with what you think about that.
Thank you, Aleksander. Pleasure to be here today. And also, I'm very happy to join this meeting. Thank you very much for the invitation. Pleasure to basically start those topics regarding the key challenges in Europe as well as Poland. I would say one of the biggest challenges is that the supply chain in Europe is still not fully developed. Dominant here right now, most of the players are importing materials to Europe, which is also kind of crucial to lower down the carbon footprint in Europe. So therefore, the supply chain has to grow together with the demand, and that is our role here in Europe to be involved in increasing activities of local supply chain. What Northvolt has mentioned during the meeting is that in Poland we have pretty large amount of companies involved in the business, but the scale is not enough for Europe. The business is growing rapidly, so it is important not only to bring the materials in Europe, process them, but also bring the people. And that is also the other topic which is missing in the link is also number of people involved in the battery development in Europe, and engineers, many people from the processing, many people from the cell manufacturing side, also cell design, module design. Those are the skills which are needed in Europe, and then that is also the role of people involved in the battery businesses like Northvolt, like Durapower, like many other companies also in the goal, like to be also responsible for creating some educational path for young people and also people who want to change their business to e-mobility or the battery industry. The other topic I also think is important is legislative problems regarding the basically getting permissions for making many topics, starting from the recycling, starting from the electrification of public transportation or charging infrastructure. Also, as it has been mentioned by Mr. Robert, was that basically all of us are facing the problems with the availability of the power. Energy mix is different in many countries in Europe. In Poland, it's not the best one. As it has been mentioned, we are still using more than 50% of coal. So it is very difficult to get the energy to be fully clean power. There are some countries with more than 70% of renewables, and that is the target for all of us to be 100% clean in the upcoming years. So basically, batteries are one of the solutions to stabilize the uncertainty how the energy is generated, because you have no influence how wind blows and how the sun shines. So basically, it is very difficult to store the energy, and that is how the companies like us are getting to the market, that we can basically store the energy when it is not needed, and we can give this energy to the grid back when it's needed to balance it properly, and also face the problems with the let's say not the newest energy grid in the country.
Thank you. That exceeded the one single challenge, but it gives us a broad perspective. Then, if we have Durapower, which is out of Singapore and has a global perspective, but also European view, as we saw from Adam's statement, I would like to go to Philippe Van Gel, because Aver is kind of, has an umbrella kind of bird eye view on the entire European Union, but also the continent. And through global cooperation, I think you can also kind of set that in. What would you say is the key challenge for this market to thrive, and in a way that we're discussing, so to use its potential, not only manufacturing, but really the entire market to be driven by the CEE region?
So thank you, Aleksander. Also pleased to be here in the first place. Well, I think let's start with the good news. So the good news that we are in line, that the battery electric vehicle solution is accepted, and that we really have all the support, as well from the policy, but as well of the from the industry as such. So the European car makers are committed to make the electric vehicles, supported by the supply chain. So we are also getting the battery manufacturing also here in Europe. Very pleased. We have now the 2035 target, which will be most likely accepted. And it's just, I think, the finalization of this aspect. European Commission proposed it, the Parliament accepted, and the Council had some concerns, but in general, they are in line. So from 2035, we should only see lithium batteries on the road as sales. Is this promising? Yes, of course. Are we happy with it? Yes. Now, timing is crucial here, and that's my biggest worry, or maybe key message. We know how many cars we sell on average. We just gonna also know what supply chain we're gonna need by 2035, not only for Europe but also for the world. And if you talk about lithium, if you talk about raw materials in general, well, that supply chain, I would say, is guaranteed, but you don't start overnight. setting up minings, getting the permission, getting it approved, getting the production up and running at the speed and that we want. That I see as one of the biggest bottlenecks for the coming years. So we also see now the bottlenecks from the chip shortage. I think this will stay a while by the general supply chain for vehicles as such. So also there, it's the classical message. We can put as many factories in Europe with already the issues mentioned, but the supply chain has to be guaranteed.
Okay, thank you. That's a very interesting point of view. So we see the grid resilience, the energy supply, and now the supply chain also being unhindered, which is very difficult in the present time, of course, due to some of the obvious reasons like COVID, like the war in Ukraine, but various others as well, which make the situation sometimes challenging. So from that, I'd like to go to Patrick Chryc-Gawrychowski. If you can, from SEVA, if you can give us this one key challenge that you would define in the same context.
Yes, Alex, I will stay with one challenge because we have zillions of challenges with batteries and new automotive, but let's stick to one. And I would say it's actually human resources because this is what actually at the system level everybody's facing, and that's not only at the level of cell production, but at every single level, including other parts of the value chain when we speak about raw materials, when we speak about engineers, innovations. Just to give you like one simple source of information, how much batteries we will need in the region. We ran a little analysis here in Slovakia, and we looked at our automotive production. And as you know, Slovakia is a small country, but per capita the biggest producer of cars, so which makes a lot of impact on the industry. So we make like over 1 million cars per year, and we calculated that as of today we know that 74% of our markets will be zero emission until 2035, which means very likely there will be battery electric. We say that there will be some leftover for production of ICE, maybe for other markets, but let's stick to for example to 90%. And we calculated that we will need around 40 gigawatt hours of batteries until 2030 a year, which will go up to over 60 gigawatt hours a year, which means we are really in gigawatt capacity. Oh, by the way, this will require billions of investment, somewhere between 3 to 5 or 6 billion euro. So when we go into more details, you can actually build the factory. You can purchase the technology. Well, as far as the capacity will actually will be sufficient. But the real problem will be the people, because this will go into very simple professions in the factory. Well, let's speak about thousands of people per 1 gigawatt per gigawatt factory. So when we speak about 40 gigawatt hour capacity, this could go up to several thousands of people, between 2 maybe 4,000, and this is only the limit of in the factory itself. Now let's speak about CE value added in the innovations. Now we need a lot of engineers, we need a lot of development people. Ideally, we should strive for putting startups and new innovations into the value chain, and not only in the cell production, but let's speak about systems, sensors, recycling, anything. So I think the most striking challenge will be how to bring so many highly educated, but also typical workers on the spot, and how to enable this transformation in terms of the human capacity.
Important point, and thank you for that, because this is something that I think every battery company is struggling with, and we come back to this business part of the market actually with the next two questions, and I will start from BMZ, Mr. Surma. I know this is a challenge for every battery company, so the youth, the talents, but is this also your key challenge, or did you maybe think of a different one that would be crucial from your point of view?
Agree with my colleagues on this webinar. I'm business development manager in BMZ Poland, and I work in battery business 7 years. Most part of this time I work in technical department. I was lead engineer dedicated for developing batteries for heavy duty automotive. I'm impressed how this business growing up and also see what kind of opportunities are behind of it. I see two kind of opportunities. First is a limited engineering resources specializing in battery technologies. And second, what I see is a limited numbers of manufacturers supplying specialty components for battery companies. Limited engineering resources specializing in battery technology is a key challenge in the Polish market. Industry is enabled to make faster progress as there is too few programs at technical universities in Poland dedicated to this technology. Battery business need to invest in comprehensive trainings from 6 up to 12 months before young engineers achieved a desired level of expertise. Time spent on this form of education is critical in relation to how rapidly the battery technologies are being developed. As new technologies emerge on the market each year, the companies developing batteries need to follow suit to keep us with ever-changing market expectations. BMZ Poland established in South Poland region long-term cooperation with technical universities. What could be helpful for companies, for battery companies, is establish this on global. This kind of programs should be working in two ways. Industry should support young students, and technical universities should create engineers oriented on battery discipline. Separate challenge is a limited number of manufacturers supplying specialty components for battery assembler. In example, electronics peripherals such like BMS, housing, thermal management systems, etc. Also, key challenge for Polish market is limited companies which produce components for battery assemblers.
Okay, that's actually also quite a grouping of challenges, to be honest, but I see that the business has a lot of obstacles to face every day. And if you take into account from the global perspective, the European perspective, the regulatory perspective, and what you're saying, this is a lot of hurdles to overcome. And I think we will see how the battery regulation from the European side will also support this. But we'll come back to that in the later parts of the discussion. Since we're talking now and coming into the Polish market, we have a Polish company amongst us, Technik. So, Filip, if you can give us your view on this one key challenge, or maybe a group of challenges that really are important from your perspective to foster the innovation of this sector in our region.
Sure. Thank you, Alek. I think that my colleague said at least everything what is happening on the market, but I would say that today's market is really driven by unpredictability, in a meaning of unpredictability of deliveries, unpredictability of prices, and obviously the availability of raw materials and components. This makes a huge impact on the whole battery sector, in a meaning that it affects not only the smaller assemblers, but also the big OEMs or car manufacturers. One of the key pillars of manufacturing is just-in-time method. I would say that if we could go back to the times where just-in-time deliveries would be fully functioning, then we could think of taking a full advantage of the market potential. Please consider that's a common topic that all companies are saying that they have huge stocks these days, yeah, and they are just waiting for one additional component to start or finish production. This actually makes a huge impact on the whole battery sector. And it makes a lot of delays in bringing the final product. And at the end, it gives additional costs because of the warehousing and because usually we want to get these components on time, so we have to pay these days additional money to get those components. So I would say that we still have many risks and we still have many challenges to overcome. But from my perspective, adding on top of everything that was said until now, we have to overcome the shortage on the components, and we have to make better planning in a meaning of production.
All right, that's a very interesting aspect as well, and I think it really just completes and complements what has been said before. So we have this entire scope of challenges, actually, from grid challenges, grid-related challenges, through supply chain challenges, through regulatory challenges, the talents and human resources, and then coming back to again, supply chain, but from a different kind of approach and different type of planning for businesses to address. That's very interesting, and I think the discussion, of course, on that topic is not over, but maybe delving a little bit deeper, and we will stay with you, Filip, if it's okay. I wonder, for your view as a manufacturer, what technologies will be relevant in respect to the demand of the customers as it's developing, evolving. What do you think the future technologies will be for batteries, for battery systems? Please elucidate.
Sure, thank you very, very much, Alek. The topic is complicated, let's put it like that. The battery market is huge. It is said that it will grow by 25% a year by 2030. I'm convinced that it will be mainly driven by lithium, nickel, manganese, and cobalt, and most active technologies on the battery market will be still NMC, LFP, and NCA. Therefore, experts are convinced that there will be no big breakthrough in the current decade. Yeah, so I would say that the cell manufacturers right now are focusing to get bigger energy density on a cell level and improve safety on a cell level. Yeah? Next thing that really leads the market these days is cost. In a meaning of cost on the cell level, which is increasing. That is because of the current situation on raw materials market, obviously, and about the situation all over the world, we could say, but that also drives the market. In a meaning that we can see the movement into LFP technology, and it is even said that the LFP technology will have a bigger cost advantage in upcoming years. And also LFP has a better safety than NMC, so we can see a movement, at the car producers level that they move to LFP technology. If we will combine all these things together, I would see that we can define a few trends. The first trend, obviously, is, let's say, mixing technologies we know. So right now we can see a movement where we want to move to manganese. And why is that? It's because actually the nickel and the cobalt is really expensive. So there is a point into going into that direction. It is even said that quite hot topic is these days the cobalt-free technology, which may be active in upcoming years. Yeah. The second thing, I would say it's non-flammable electrolyte in solid state. Everybody is talking about it. We can see a perspective that in 2025 to 2030 that there should be like available technology on the production level that will be active. Yes, so we are all waiting on that. We can also see first tabless designs that are really interesting because they significantly improve the performance on the battery level. And well, from my perspective, if I would look at the horizon, I would think about the silicon anodes. So in upcoming years, we will see for sure some kind of a development on the technology level. But like I said, maybe no big change, but small steps.
Well, maybe small steps are the safest way to pursue. That's very interesting. I know that these technologies for EVs, for electromobility, they mean longer ranges, they mean more resilience, which is very good to drive the market. But I wonder, from BMZ's perspective, Mr. Surma, if you could tell us, first of all, if your take on this technology development is similar, but also how do you see the academic background for this? Is the cooperation between companies and academics good for R&D to drive these future technologies, to make them more relevant? How do you see that?
As I previously mentioned, a strong cooperation between technical university and the industry is essential. Capable cross-functional teams of engineers who cover different fields of battery developments are critical to success, business success. The fields in questions are mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, simulation engineers, electronics, software, chemical, and certification engineers. Knowledge acquired during university courses is often shy of the field of battery technology. To understand specific mechanisms of the solution, specialized knowledge is desirable. Chemical engineers need to understand cell behaviors. Approvals engineers requires extensive understanding of norms, standards, normative certification, and homologation process. All this under one roof with full understanding of market or customers' requirements. All required peripherals such like BMS, battery housing, electrical systems, or thermal management will be duly developed. Only with full mutual understanding within such a cross-functional team will perform reliably and effectively. Summarizing above, battery engineers must have wide and specific knowledge oriented on battery technology. Battery industry should come to technical universities with special needs and requirements for better understanding by technical university what battery industry needs. And this is, let's say, goal.
So that gives us a very interesting perspective. I wanted to ask Patrick Chryc-Gawrychowski from SEVA, what's the role of startups in developing this innovation in this market? Because it's usually the key biggest players that invest and drive the startup market in order to develop a dynamic implementation of various startups strategies. What's your take on this?
Alex, basically, it's about ecosystem, which needs to fit, requirements of the industry, and obviously a new industry as battery. You will again face a huge challenge with people, and behind the people, there's everything. So young innovations, startups, then an ecosystem which supports the startup development and the life of startup, and obviously you need also a large industry players which actually absorb the innovations which would be market ready. So if we take a very good example, maybe also from my experience, when you take startup which generates new technology innovation, you need is to have a certain lab scale capacity. You develop a technology, but then you need to bring this technology to the market and to validate the technology. So that's the second stage. And on the way to market validation, every startup can die, right? And then you still need, if you are successful with this validation, you need to scale up and try to produce the technology. So again, this is the risk of death for the startup. And behind this, you need the whole ecosystem which supports these new innovations. So universities, that would be the first step, but then you need promotion schemes, and not only funding, but helping the startups. And very important, you need a system which brings the startups closer to industrial players, because in terms of technology innovations, you cannot do anything without large industrial players. Very seldom you would bring a new battery technology, speaking maybe about thermal management, about certain chemistry, recycling technology, or whatever, without a large industrial player who would be ready to validate and to bring the technology into the real life. So this would be the question for entire webinar or even conference: how to bring the new innovations and startups to real market environment. But basically, ecosystem would be a quick answer. What needs to be promoted.
Right. So the ecosystem, but also the road to market challenge, which seems to be the kind of bridging issue here that you've also mentioned. But I wonder, because the European Union is working on the European battery regulation, it's the final phase. It's not really working so much on it as it is in the trilogue negotiation phase. Philip van Gel, as a VER, is very involved in working around this regulation since the beginning, since December 2020. What's your view? Can this regulation support the challenges we're discussing here today? How do you think it can affect the development of that market? It will probably come into play this year. How do you think it will? What will the effect of this regulation be on the market?
Well, it was definitely a necessary change. The old regulation was already some years old and really got outdated, and that's in line with it is a challenge in the sector that we are working. You just talked about innovation, new startups. If you see where we were 10 years ago, where we were 5 years ago, and where we are today, it's so fast moving. Technology improves. If I say on daily basis, it's maybe exaggerated, but it's not so far from the truth. 5 years ago, we had hardly 10 available electric vehicles available, and now we didn't double. It's more than tenfold. So it was absolutely necessary, and I think that the biggest challenge for the policymaker is to follow with the industry speed that we are going today. And probably if I say it's already outdated, it's maybe pessimistic. Let's stay positive in this way, but we need to continually update and see how we can improve to make it all happen. And I think also their message from my side, things can be improved, things can be better, but everything is there in place to make it happen. And just let's do it and keep on focusing on achieving what we really want to have, is the zero emission transport. So don't forget that target.
Okay, so we should perceive that regulation in face of the entire package in terms of entire strategy. I know, Philippe, that you are very time constrained, so if you need to go, then it's okay, but I would be glad if you could stay with us. We just have one more statement, and I would like to address that because we see this regulatory approach. We have knowledge about startups, or at least the fact that the ecosystem that will need to be shaped around it will be the key, the crucial factor. We have this kind of perspective on the technology, how it will develop. We know that we will not probably be the inventors of lithium-ion technologies, but the things around it and the technologies around it, we can shape this. Do you see us, the CEE region, having the potential of really inventing new technologies, of really bringing startups to the market, of shaping this ecosystem? Adam Piotrowski, please.
So if it comes to the Central Eastern European market, I would believe that this market is already a crucial player on European battery supply chain, and also that is why the Durapower group is interested to be here. We started operations in 2016 with being more involved on the western side of Europe to deliver batteries to the buses. Since that moment, we delivered more than 650 separate systems, and basically that allows us to also think about different markets, and we treat Poland as one of the crucial locations regarding the energy storage and so on. And basically, those topics, I would say, are pretty essential for us because we see there is a big potential for getting people, because people will be transitioned from traditional automotive to the e-mobility as well as the batteries. And also in terms of other topics, I would say that where to start if it is not one of the worst polluters in terms of mixed energy mix. So basically, we started to electrify worst polluters on the sea, on the road, and also one of the crucial topics will be energy storage systems for changing to electrificate in different way the traditional market, which is the current let's say grid. If it comes to the other topics which were brought by the other people speaking before me, I would say that a crucial thing is how to fight with the quality and safety instead of just the price, because we can assume that European made batteries won't be cheaper than Chinese brand or other locations. And definitely what we have to focus is also to deliver fair quality and fair safety. It has been brought that LFP is considered safer to NMC. Yes, it is considered safe, but it is just a cathode material. It is one of small element of the battery cell. So we cannot focus on saying that LFP is safer than NMC because it's whole system which has to be safe. We have proven that our technology NMC, which is produced in-house, is safe, 100% safety record till this moment. So basically, it's not about the cells, it's also about electrolyte separator, thermal management, thermal propagation, as well as total system design. So that is our role, how we basically see ourselves in Central European market to deliver safe and also highly performance solutions for the market.
Okay, well, thank you for that. We are seeing there is more to discuss. There are controversies, technological and strategic, and we will have an opportunity to discuss this, and actually quite soon, towards mid-September at the New Mobility Congress. Thank you all for your time. Thank you all for your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience, and your input. It was great to have you here. And I pass the floor back to Maria. Thank you once again, and see you at the New Mobility Congress.
Aleksander, thank you for leading this really interesting discussion. Dear panelists, thank you for taking an active part in this discussion on the challenges of the battery market in Poland and the CEE region, and strengthening the competitiveness of the Polish and CEE region battery industry. We are going to continue this discussion, as Aleksander said, for the benefit of the market development during the Polish Battery Day, during the New Mobility Congress in Łódź. Hope to see you all there. Thank you very much.